Most people think they know what mental strength looks like. They imagine a person who does not flinch, a person who speaks loudly, a person who pushes through, a person who refuses to bend. In their minds, strength is something you can see. It has volume, it has speed, it has force. But that image is already a mistake. What you usually call mental strength is only a kind of tension. It is the mind pulling tight around an idea of itself. It is pride holding a shape. It is the nervous system bracing, trying not to crack. It feels powerful because it is loud inside. The body is alert. The thoughts are sharp. The emotions are compressed into a hard line. Yet none of that means stability. True stability does not announce itself. It does not rush. It does not fill the room. It does not prove anything. In fact, it often looks like nothing at all. When real pressure arrives, the difference becomes clear. The loud mind speeds up. The proud mind stiffens. The tense mind narrows. They all feel strong right up until the moment they are forced to change. And when they cannot, they break. There is a kind of person who always appears busy in their mind, always reacting, always preparing, always tightening around the next moment. They call this being sharp. They call it being ready. But this restless inner motion is not strength. It is instability trying to hide from itself. A fast, busy spirit cannot stay open. It cannot see widely. It can only move quickly inside a small box. Speed feels impressive. It gives the illusion of control. But speed without rhythm is only chaos that has not yet been tested. Something that moves too quickly becomes blind. Something that moves without rhythm loses its ground. It looks powerful until it collides with something that does not move the way it expects. This is why so many people appear strong until the moment something unexpected happens. A sudden loss, a harsh word, a shift in power, a threat to their image. Their speed becomes panic. Their confidence becomes defense. Their endurance becomes strain. What they were holding together with effort suddenly comes apart. They were never stable. They were only holding a pose. Real strength is not a pose. It is not the ability to keep pushing. It is not the refusal to bend. It is the quiet capacity to remain clear while everything moves around you. It is the mind that does not have to rush to protect itself. It is the spirit that does not need to prove anything in order to remain intact. When pressure arrives, most people tighten. Their attention narrows. Their identity comes forward. They start trying to win, to justify, to survive. All of this feels like strength, but it is only reaction. There is another kind of mind that does not do this. It does not hurry. It does not harden. It does not become busy inside. It stays wide. It stays still. It sees what is happening without being pulled into it. This kind of calm is not relaxation. It is not softness. It is structure. You can feel the difference when you are near it. There is no urgency coming from it. No emotional noise. No need to impress or dominate. And because of that, it cannot be easily shaken. Pressure does not find a place to enter. Most people have never encountered this level of mental strength. They only know the noisy version. The version that looks impressive and collapses when tested. The version that relies on speed, force, and pride to hold itself together. What remains when all of that falls away is something far more rare. It is not dramatic. It does not inspire. It does not even look strong. It is simply there, unmoved. Most minds do not fail because they are weak. They fail because they are fixed. A fixed mind is one that holds a position and refuses to release it. That position may be an opinion, an emotion, a story about who you are, or a single detail in front of you. Once the mind locks onto it, everything else becomes secondary. The field of awareness shrinks. The world becomes a narrow corridor. In that corridor, even a small disturbance feels like a threat. This is why people panic. Not because the situation is always extreme, but because their attention is trapped. They are no longer seeing the whole. They are staring at one point and losing the rest of the room. When the mind does this, it becomes stiff. It stops moving. It stops adapting. It becomes like a hand that has gone numb and can no longer feel what it is holding. A pliable mind is alive. A fixed mind is dead. You can see this when pressure appears. Someone hears a word that challenges their image. Someone senses rejection. Someone feels control slipping. Immediately, their inner posture tightens. They defend. They argue. They withdraw. They attack. All of these reactions come from the same place: fixation on a single idea of themselves or a single detail in the situation. Their mind has chosen a point and refused to let go. When that happens, perception collapses. They stop seeing the person in front of them. They stop seeing the wider context. They stop noticing what is actually changing. They only see the one thing they are afraid to lose. That one thing becomes the center of the world. This is not strength. It is fragility. Under real pressure, this fragility becomes obvious. The more a person clings to a position, the easier it is to move them. The more tightly they hold a story about who they are, the more violent their reactions become when that story is threatened. What looks like strong emotion is really fear trying to keep its footing. Fixation creates obsession. Obsession creates blindness. There is an old image for this kind of failure. It is the image of someone staring so hard at the head of a small animal that they forget the body behind it. They become trapped in a narrow focus and lose the larger structure. When this happens, even a powerful person becomes easy to defeat, not because they lack force, but because they no longer see the whole. This is how people fall apart in arguments, in crises, in moments of loss. Their mind becomes small. Their spirit becomes narrow. They are no longer in the room. They are inside their own fixation. And because of that, they cannot change. The living mind is different. It does not stay in one shape. It does not cling to one emotional posture. It can expand and contract without breaking. It can shift its focus from the smallest detail to the widest field without losing clarity. It is not attached to one identity or one reaction. But most people have never developed this. Their sense of self is built on holding a fixed position. They think that to remain someone, they must not move. They think that to be strong, they must not bend. So when life bends them, they snap. Pressure does not destroy these minds. It only reveals how rigid they already were. It shows how little room they had to move. It shows how much of their stability depended on everything staying the same. A mind that cannot release a single thought cannot release a crisis. A mind that cannot let go of a self-image cannot let go of fear. A mind that cannot shift its focus cannot find a new way forward. This is why almost everyone fails here. They are not weak. They are stuck. The way this mind was formed cannot be separated from the world that shaped it. This was not a world of debate, therapy, or inner exploration. It was a world where a single mistake could end everything. A wrong step, a moment of hesitation, a shift in attention at the wrong time, and a blade would be where you no longer were. There was no room for comforting stories about yourself. There was no second chance to correct a bad reaction. This was the environment in which Musashi lived. He began fighting while still very young. Before most people today have formed a stable sense of identity, he was already facing opponents who intended to kill him. His early life was not about finding meaning. It was about staying alive. Each encounter was a direct test of perception, timing, and mental position. What worked remained. What failed was removed. Over decades, these encounters accumulated, not as memories but as refinements. Every victory, every close call, every moment where his life depended on seeing correctly shaped the structure of his mind. By the time he reached later life, he was not interested in technique for its own sake. He was interested in what did not collapse. It was only after many years of this that he withdrew from the noise of the world. He went into the mountains, away from the pressures of constant combat and reputation, not to escape reality, but to look at it without distortion. In that stillness, he examined what had truly kept him alive, not just physically, but mentally. What remained when excitement, fear, and ambition were stripped away? He was already an old man by then. Not old in spirit, but old in experience. He had seen too many men die from the same mistakes. Too many warriors fall not because they lacked skill, but because their minds became tangled. They rushed. They hesitated. They fixated. They became busy inside. In those moments, their bodies followed their confusion. In that world, death was not dramatic. It was ordinary. It was the natural result of misreading what was in front of you. To live, you had to accept that this was always present. Not emotionally, but structurally. The possibility of death was not something to fear. It was something that made clarity necessary. This is why his understanding of strength is so different from modern ideas. There was no space for pretending. You could not fake calm. You could not rely on confidence. You could not survive on willpower. The only thing that worked was a mind that stayed clear when everything else tried to make it narrow. In the mountains, away from the distractions of reputation and rivalry, this truth became sharper. What had mattered in every duel was not aggression. It was not speed. It was not even courage. It was whether the mind remained open and unclouded while danger closed in. Any illusion was punished immediately. A man who believed he was strong would overextend. A man who believed he was clever would misjudge. A man who believed he was fearless would lose awareness. The blade did not care about these stories. It responded only to what was real. That is the world this understanding came from. Not theory, not philosophy, but years of standing in front of death and watching what caused people to lose themselves. From that place, only one kind of strength remained. Not the kind that looks impressive, but the kind that does not disappear when everything else is taken away. There are only two kinds of minds when pressure arrives. One is fixed. The other is living. A fixed mind chooses a position and stays there. It takes on an inner posture and refuses to release it. This posture might be anger. It might be confidence. It might be calm. It might even be silence. The problem is not what the posture is. The problem is that it becomes held. When something is held, it becomes rigid. When it becomes rigid, it loses sensitivity. And when it loses sensitivity, it cannot feel what is actually happening. It can only defend its position. This is why panic locks in. The mind has taken a stance and is trying to protect it. This is why anger narrows vision. The mind is gripping one emotional shape and everything else disappears. This is why identity collapses under attack. A person has built themselves out of a few fixed ideas, and when those ideas are challenged, there is nothing else to stand on. A fixed mind is like a hand that has gone stiff. It cannot open. It cannot adjust its grip. It cannot feel the texture of what it holds. It may be strong in one direction, but it is useless in every other. The living mind is different. It does not stay in one shape. It does not choose a single emotional or mental posture and cling to it. It can take form and release form without losing itself. It can become focused without becoming narrow. It can become calm without becoming numb. It can become intense without becoming blind. This is what it means to hold an attitude without being trapped by it. To be present in a moment without becoming fixed inside it. To move with what is happening instead of bracing against it. A living mind does not mean confusion. It does not mean drifting. It does not mean weakness. It means that the mind has no rigid center that can be struck. It can shift its stance instantly because it is not defending an image of itself. Most people mistake fixedness for stability. They believe that if they hold their position firmly enough, they will not be shaken. But this is exactly why they are shaken. When something hits a rigid structure, it cracks. When something hits a flexible one, it moves and remains intact. This is the difference between existing and non-existing inner attitude. Existing attitude is the posture you take. Non-existing attitude is the absence of attachment to that posture. The living mind can enter a position and leave it without residue. The fixed mind becomes stuck inside whatever it is doing. This is why people feel trapped by their own emotions. They do not feel anger. They become anger. They do not experience fear. They are swallowed by fear. Their mind has fixed itself inside a single shape and lost the rest of its range. Under pressure, this becomes fatal. A fixed formation cannot adapt. It cannot respond to what is new. It can only repeat itself. When the situation changes, it is left behind. The living mind does not need to be brave. It does not need to be confident. It does not need to prove anything. It remains available to what is actually in front of it. Because of that, it sees more. It feels more. And it moves with greater precision. This is what makes it frightening. A fixed mind can be predicted. It always reacts the same way. A living mind cannot. It does not belong to any single emotion or story. It is free to change shape without losing clarity. That is why one always breaks and the other does not. Pressure does not change who you are. It only removes what was holding you together. When stress enters a situation, most people feel as if something new is happening inside them. Their heart races. Their thoughts speed up. Their emotions intensify. They believe the pressure is creating weakness. But this is not what is happening. The pressure is only stripping away the layers that were hiding it. A mind that is stable on the surface but weak at its center will always be exposed when conditions tighten. You can smile. You can speak calmly. You can look confident. But if the deeper structure of your attention is fragile, it will show when something pushes against it. This is what it means to penetrate the depths. The surface of a person can remain intact while the deeper spirit is already collapsing. Someone can still be talking, still standing, still pretending, even as their inner stability has already broken. From that moment on, everything they do is a reaction to that hidden collapse. You see this in arguments that suddenly turn ugly, in negotiations that unexpectedly fall apart, in people who seem composed until one small comment causes them to explode. The explosion did not come from nowhere. It came from a crack that was already there. Pressure reveals rhythm. Every mind has a rhythm, whether it knows it or not. Some minds move in a steady flow. Others are jerky and uneven. When things are calm, this does not matter much. But when pressure increases, rhythm becomes everything. A mind that rushes ahead of the moment loses its footing. A mind that lags behind becomes stuck. Either way, it is no longer in harmony with what is happening. This is why reckless energy is dangerous. When someone pushes forward too quickly, when they force a situation, when they try to overpower what is in front of them, they create a pull. Weak minds are dragged by this pull. They speed up, become flustered, and lose their ground. A stable mind does not follow this pull. It holds down the situation the way a heavy weight holds down a restless movement. It does not rush to meet force with force. It does not mirror urgency with urgency. It stays where it is. And because it stays where it is, the other side begins to lose balance. This is not resistance. It is unpooled presence. You can feel this difference when someone is truly steady. They do not absorb your tension. They do not take on your panic. They do not accelerate when you do. They keep their own rhythm. And in doing so, they quietly expose yours. This is why some people seem to grow stronger in crises. It is not because they enjoy pressure. It is because their structure was already sound. There is nothing inside them that needs to be protected from being seen. There is no fragile story that must be defended. When pressure comes, it finds nothing to break. Others appear strong until the moment they are tested. Their surface confidence hides a shaky core. When stress touches that core, everything becomes frantic. They talk more. They think faster. They cling harder. The more they try to regain control, the more they reveal how little of it they had. Pressure is not cruel. It is honest. It shows you whether a person's calm is real or rehearsed, whether their confidence is structural or emotional, whether their mind has depth or only surface tension. Nothing new is created. Only what was hidden is made visible. There is a level of mental strength that does not look like strength at all. It does not announce itself. It does not tense. It does not prepare. It does not rush forward to meet what is coming. It simply remains. This is what was called the body of a rock. Not a hard body, not a rigid one. A rock is not tense. It does not brace. It does not try to resist the wind. It is simply there. Waves strike it. Rain hits it. Pressure moves around it. And yet, at its center, nothing shifts. This is not emotional numbness. A rock still feels the rain. This is not detachment. A rock is fully in the environment. But its structure does not depend on what is happening around it. Because of that, it cannot be manipulated. Most people believe strength means being able to push back. They think it means meeting force with force, pressure with pressure. But this always creates friction. And friction always creates heat. And heat always creates distortion. The body of a rock creates none of this. When someone with this level of stability is faced with anger, they do not become angry. When faced with fear, they do not become afraid. When faced with urgency, they do not become hurried. None of these things find a place to enter. They strike the surface and fall away. This is why it is terrifying. You cannot provoke it. You cannot rush it. You cannot intimidate it. You cannot flatter it. There is nothing inside it that is looking for approval or protection. There is no story about who it is that can be threatened. There is no emotional hook to grab. It is not passive. It is not weak. It is simply not pulled. This kind of mind does not need courage. Courage is a response to fear. But fear cannot take hold here. It does not need willpower. Willpower is a way of forcing the mind to stay in a position. But this mind has no fixed position to hold. It is stable because it is not holding anything. Most people never encounter this level of strength because they never stop gripping. They grip their roles. They grip their self-image. They grip their emotions. They grip their opinions. Even when they try to be calm, they are gripping calm. The rock does not grip. This is why it is so rare. It requires a mind that has let go of every inner posture without becoming empty. A mind that can stand in the middle of chaos without needing to be something in it. To the outside world, this looks unimpressive. There is no drama, no display, no tension. But inside, it is unshakable. Events move. People push. Circumstances shift. None of it finds a place to land. That is the scariest level of mental strength. Not because it is aggressive, but because it is untouched. This level of mind does not operate through effort. It operates through seeing. There are two ways the mind looks at the world. One is narrow and sharp. It focuses on objects, faces, words, and movements. This kind of seeing is useful, but it is limited. It locks onto what is closest, what is loudest, what demands attention. It is easily pulled. The other way of seeing is wider. It does not fix on one thing. It takes in the whole field. It notices movement, distance, intention, and change without selecting one detail as more important than the rest. This is perception. When these two are balanced, the mind sees everything without being trapped by anything. It can look directly at what is near without losing awareness of what is far. It can register small changes without forgetting the larger shape of what is happening. This is why someone in this state can appear calm while still responding with precision. They are not staring. They are aware. This kind of perception creates rhythm. Every interaction has a rhythm. Conversations, conflicts, crowds, even silence has a rhythm. When someone is out of rhythm, they feel uncomfortable. They speak too quickly. They interrupt. They hesitate. They misjudge the moment. They move when they should wait and wait when they should move. A mind that sees widely does not have to think about timing. It feels it. It moves when the moment opens and remains still when it does not. There is no forcing. There is no rush. The rhythm is natural because the perception is not distorted. This is what allows action without internal noise. Most people act through a layer of thought. They decide. They hesitate. They second-guess. They argue with themselves. By the time they move, the moment has already shifted. Their action is out of place. In the deeper state, there is no such delay. Action arises directly from what is seen. There is no plan being held inside. There is no mental design that must be followed. There is only response to what is actually present. This is what is meant by acting without conception. The mind is not empty. It is clear. It is not drifting. It is engaged. But it is not trapped in a pre-made shape. This clarity is what is called the void. Many people misunderstand this. They think void means nothingness, blankness, or confusion. That is not void. That is simply being lost. True void appears when all the clouds of fixation, emotion, and self-story fall away. What remains is not darkness, but open space. In that open space, everything can be seen. There is no inner commentary, no narrative, no struggle. There is just what is happening as it is happening. Because of this, nothing needs to be resisted. Nothing needs to be grasped. The mind moves freely because there is nothing holding it. This is why this level of strength feels eerie to others. There is no signal to read, no tension to push against, no emotional current to ride. The person is fully present, but not offering anything to latch onto. They are not hiding. They are not closed. They are simply not fixed. From this state, perception remains wide, rhythm remains true, and action remains clean. Nothing is forced. Nothing is delayed. Nothing is confused. That is how this mind functions. Modern minds are not weak. They are overloaded. They are trained to look at too many things at once without truly seeing any of them. Messages, images, opinions, noise, and urgency pull attention in every direction. The mind becomes busy, not productive. Busy. It is always reacting, always adjusting, always bracing for the next interruption. This constant inner motion feels like engagement, but it destroys perception. A busy spirit cannot stay wide. It jumps from point to point, chasing what is loudest or most emotionally charged. It cannot hold a steady field of awareness. Because of that, it cannot feel rhythm. It only knows stimulation. When a mind lives like this, it becomes easy to pull. A sudden message, a sharp comment, a breaking story. Each one tugs the attention away. Over time, the mind forgets how to remain where it is. It becomes restless, jumpy, and fragile. This is fatal to deeper stability. The second problem is identity obsession. Modern people are taught to build themselves out of labels, beliefs, and personal narratives. They define who they are through opinions, affiliations, and emotional stances. These things feel solid, but they are not. They are narrow. When the mind becomes attached to a single way of seeing itself, it loses flexibility. It becomes afraid of being wrong, afraid of losing face, afraid of not being recognized. Every interaction becomes a threat to the self-image. Under this pressure, perception collapses. Instead of seeing what is happening, the mind sees only what it means for the story of me. It becomes blind to the wider field. Everything is filtered through fear of damage. This is the narrow spirit. A narrow spirit cannot adapt. It cannot release a position without feeling that it is losing itself. It cannot change its view without feeling that it is being erased. This makes every disagreement, every challenge, every surprise feel dangerous. The deeper level of mental strength requires the opposite. It requires a mind that is not afraid to let go of any position. A mind that does not need to defend an identity in order to exist. The third problem is false emptiness. Many people today talk about silence, presence, or inner stillness. But what they experience is often just fog. Their mind stops thinking clearly, but it does not become open. It becomes dull. They feel spaced out, detached, or confused, and they mistake this for depth. True void is not confusion. It is clarity without clutter. A confused mind is quiet because it is lost. A clear mind is quiet because nothing is obstructing it. These two feel very different, but many people have never experienced the second. A busy spirit cannot reach clarity. A narrow spirit cannot reach openness. A confused spirit cannot reach the void. So modern minds circle endlessly around distraction, identity, and noise. They never settle into a stable field of awareness. They never develop the deep rhythm that comes from seeing without being pulled. When pressure comes, they scatter. When conflict appears, they collapse into their stories. When silence arrives, they become uncomfortable. This is why this level of mental strength feels so far away today. Not because it is impossible, but because the conditions of modern life train the mind in the opposite direction. It is not built for stillness. It is built for interruption. You notice this level of mind first in how it looks. In a tense room, most eyes move quickly. They dart from face to face, from threat to threat. They lock onto whatever feels dangerous. The rare mind does not do this. Its gaze is calm and wide. It seems to take in everything at once without staring at anything in particular. You get the feeling that nothing is slipping past it, even though it is not trying to catch anything. In conflict, this becomes unsettling. One person raises their voice. Another leans forward. Words sharpen. The air tightens. Most people would feel the pull. They would feel their body respond, their emotions rise, their thoughts race. But this mind does not change. It does not mirror the tension. It does not rush to meet force with force. It stays where it is. Because of that, the pressure has nowhere to go. You can see it when someone tries to provoke. An insult lands and there is no reaction. Not because it was ignored, but because it did not enter. The person remains present, watching, aware of every shift in the room. Their stillness begins to weigh on the one who is pushing. The harder the push becomes, the more obvious the imbalance looks. This is what it means to hold something down without effort. In moments of crisis, the difference is even clearer. Something unexpected happens. Plans fall apart. People freeze or rush. Some become frantic. Others shut down. But this mind does neither. It does not cling to what was supposed to happen. It lets the old shape fall away and moves into what is now. There is no drama in this shift. No visible struggle. One moment has ended. Another has begun. The transition is clean. You might mistake this for detachment, but it is the opposite. The person is fully there. They see the new conditions. They feel the change in the air. They simply do not waste energy mourning the previous moment. This is how deadlocks dissolve around them. When two sides are stuck, pushing and pulling against each other, this mind does something strange. It does not push back. It does not hold the line. It changes its angle. The tension that was holding everything in place suddenly has nothing to press against. The situation opens. What was stuck begins to move. It can look almost accidental, but it is not. It is the result of not being attached to any single position. In social tension, the same quality appears. Awkwardness fills the space. People become self-conscious. They worry about how they are being seen. This mind does not contract. It remains open. It notices the discomfort without becoming it. And because of that, others begin to relax around it. They do not know why. They only feel that something has become easier. When small details try to capture attention, this mind does not get lost in them. It can look at the smallest movement and still feel the whole room. It can listen to one voice without forgetting the wider situation. It never shrinks into a single point. This is why it never panics. There is always more being seen than what is demanding attention. There is always a wider field. And in that wider field, there is space to move. Nothing pulls it. Nothing traps it. It remains where it is. There is a kind of strength that leaves no trace. It does not linger in the air after a moment passes. It does not announce that it was there. It does not leave a story behind. It simply remains what it is, and then the world moves on. This is the body of a rock. Not something that resists, but something that does not need to. Wind passes. Voices rise and fall. Events collide and scatter. None of it changes the center. There is no tension being held. There is no posture being defended. There is only presence that does not move. This is what makes it so difficult to recognize. Most people look for strength in effort, in reaction, in visible force. They look for something that can be admired or feared. But this level offers nothing to look at. It gives no signal. It creates no drama. It is simply there, untouched by what tries to touch it. In that stillness, there is true void. Not emptiness, not confusion, but a clear, open space where nothing is fixed and nothing is lost. Perception is wide. Thought is quiet. The world enters without distortion and leaves without residue. There is no need to chase or to hold. Everything arrives and departs on its own. This is why the rhythm is so steady. There is no hurry here, no delay, no inner noise arguing with the moment. Each movement happens when it happens. Each stillness lasts as long as it lasts. Nothing is forced. Nothing is held back. To those who live in constant motion, this feels unsettling. There is nothing to react to, nothing to provoke, nothing to grasp. The usual tools of pressure and persuasion find no place to land. So this level remains unseen. It does not belong to crowds. It does not belong to systems. It does not belong to those who need to be something. It exists quietly beneath all of that, in a small number of minds that no longer need to move in order to be real. Most will never encounter it, and even fewer will recognize it when they do.